I rented an apartment with a door that shouldn't exist. Then I heard someone behind it. I found the apartment by accident, which now feels like foreshadowing. Scrolling late at night, half bored, half miserable with my old life. The listing was simple. Historic building. Quiet. Good price. Available immediately. Back then, that was enough. I didn't need luxury. I needed a reset. The photos showed carved door frames, tall windows, wooden floors that looked like they held stories. I imagined myself living there, drinking coffee at a little table by the window, writing again, remembering who I was before burnout became my only identity. I emailed the landlord at 1:47 a.m. She replied at 1:52. That should have been my first red flag. When she met me outside the building, she looked like she'd been awake for days, pale, narrow-shouldered, hair pinned too tightly, eyes flicking to the windows like she expected someone to be watching. Her voice was stiff and strained. This building is old. It appreciates quiet. Weird phrasing, but I smiled politely. We climbed the stairs, creaking wood, iron railings, walls painted in faded cream. There was a heaviness to the air, like dust mixed with old perfume and forgotten time. Then I saw it. At first, my brain didn't understand what was wrong. Just another door in a hallway. Except, no number, no knob, no peephole, no frame gap, paint a strange deep green, not the building's brown gray, cracked like old riverbed clay, and a tiny brass keyhole, as if someone could enter, but never exit. I slowed down, staring. The landlord paused too, but didn't turn. Her voice dropped. Don't concern yourself with that door. She continued walking. I should have walked out right then. But humans are stupidly curious, especially when told not to be. The apartment itself felt untouched. Clean but old in a dignified way. Crown molding, tall doors, the kind of windows you romanticize until you feel the draft. Do not make noise at night, the landlord said abruptly. Not please. Not the neighbors are sensitive. Just a command, like a rule of survival. Why? She blinked, like surprised I asked. Sound carries here. Something in her tone made me shiver. She handed me the keys with a hand that trembled slightly. Welcome? Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I unpacked, cooked pasta, played soft music, tried to settle in. And for a while, it felt perfect, quiet, peaceful, like the building was holding its breath. Around midnight, I brushed my teeth, turned off the lights, and crawled into bed. The silence felt heavy, alive. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Right outside my door. I froze. Old building, I told myself. Wood shifts. People walk. But these weren't upstairs creaks or far-away thumps. They stopped right outside my door. And then, a light scrape. Metal against metal, like someone trying a key. I sat up, heart hammering. Every instinct screamed to check, to look through the peephole. But I couldn't move. The footsteps eventually receded down the hall. I barely slept. The next morning, I spotted a neighbor, elderly man, neat sweater, newspaper tucked under arm. His hand shook slightly as he unlocked his door. Excuse me, I said. I think someone tried to get in last night. Do people hear? He didn't let me finish. His eyes darted toward the green door. Then he made a small gesture, 3 fingers to his forehead, chest, shoulder, some kind of old religious sign. You didn't open, did you? No. His shoulders relaxed. Barely. Good. Don't ever. And don't ask questions. This building. She remembers things. He shut his door before I could respond. His lock clicked. Then a second lock. Then, I swear, something slid, like a metal bar. I told myself he was just paranoid. People get stuck in habits when they live alone too long. Right? I told myself I was imagining things. Old building. Thin walls. Echoes. I cooked dinner, watched Netflix, pretended normalcy. And again, around midnight, the building changed. The air thickened. The walls felt closer. Then it started. Humming. Soft. Female voice. Old melody. Something war era, I think. A tune you'd hear from a gramophone in a black and white film. It came from the hallway. No, not the hallway. The green door. I stood very still, breath shallow, heart thudding. Then, footsteps again. Slow. Dragging slightly. They stopped outside my door. A whisper followed. Soft. Dry. Too close. Are you awake? My skin turned to ice. I didn't answer. Didn't breathe. After a moment, the whisper repeated. Voice lower, patient, almost amused. I know you are. Something brushed my door. Fingertips. Fabric? I don't know. But it lingered. And then footsteps moving back toward the green door. A soft click. Metal. Key entering keyhole. I didn't hear a door open, but the humming stopped abruptly, and the building exhaled. I called the landlord the next morning. I heard someone outside my door again, and humming. From? We do not discuss the green door. She cut in. Her voice was strained, like she was choosing each word carefully. If you hear sounds, do not engage. The less curiosity, the better. I'm paying rent. I deserve to know what's. Curiosity is dangerous in older places. Her tone sharpened. You wanted quiet. Respect the quiet. She hung up. I stared at my phone, anger and fear twisting together in my gut. Why act like this? Why pretend the door wasn't real? Unless admitting it meant acknowledging what came with it. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the hallway through the open door. The green door felt like gravity, like it had weight, meaning, history. I told myself I needed to look. Just look, not touch. Not try anything stupid. Just see. The hallway was dim. Only the golden glow from an antique lamp cast light down the corridor. I walked slowly, barefoot, floor cool under my soles. The green door waited silently. Up close, it was worse. The paint wasn't just cracked. It looked scarred, like nails had dug into it once, desperately. And the keyhole, too old, oddly shaped, ornate. I felt a cold draft through it, like breath. My pulse pounded in my ears. Then something happened I still can't explain. A soft tap. From inside the door. Slow. Deliberate. I stepped back so fast I nearly fell. Something shifted in the darkness behind the keyhole, a shadow, a movement, something aware. A soft voice, faint, distant, as though underwater, murmured one word. Stay. I turned and ran back into my apartment, slamming the door, scrambling to lock it, though I knew locks meant nothing here. I sat on the floor, back against the door, trying to breathe. The humming started again. Soft, sweet, patient. And somehow, closer than before. Eventually, exhaustion beat terror. I slid into bed, every light on. Before sleep took me, I whispered into the quiet. I just want to live here. Please let me live here. The air warmed, like the building accepted the offering. For the first time since moving in, I slept without nightmares. But at 3:17 a.m., I woke to a final sound. A hinge creaking, slow, painful, like a door opening after 100 years. Not mine, the green one, and footsteps entering the hallway. I didn't move. Couldn't. The sound of that door opening, real, physical, unmistakable, rooted me in my bed like my body suddenly belonged to the room, not to me. There are moments in life when your brain does something primal, ancient, not fight, not flight, but freeze. A biological prayer that if you're still enough, whatever's hunting won't see you. I lay rigid, staring at the ceiling, ears straining. Footsteps, slow, measured, coming down the hall. My breath turned shallow, heartbeat tripping fast like it was trying to outrun itself. One step, pause. Another, closer. Not heavy, not masculine, soft, but weighted with age, like someone who had learned to walk quietly long before I was born. Then, a finger dragged across my door. Light, soft, tracing the wood. And the air changed, suddenly colder, heavier. I felt it pressing against my skin like invisible fingers testing me. The footsteps stopped right outside. Silence stretched so long it felt like the world held its breath. And then a whisper. Not outside. Inside my head. Still awake. It wasn't a voice as much as a presence. Something patient. Curious. Starving. I squeezed my eyes shut and mouthed silently. I don't see you. I don't hear you. I don't exist. The footsteps moved again. Slow. Retreating. Toward the green door. A pause. A soft click. The faint sigh of a door closing. The building relaxed. So did I. Eventually, I slept again. In that thin, brittle way you do when survival is an open question. I expected everything to feel normal in daylight. It didn't. The hallway looked the same, but there was a wrongness to it. Like someone had rearranged the molecules overnight. A faint smell lingered, old perfume, roses and dust. Not unpleasant, just ancient, like it belonged to another century. I knocked on the old man's door, desperate for human sanity. He opened it only a crack. His face drained when he saw me, alive. You looked, he whispered. Not a question, a confirmation. You shouldn't have. Now it knows you. What is it? He shook his head. The door isn't the danger. It's the memory inside it. Memory. Some people die. Some places remember. And some things cling. He shut his door. 3 locks. Metal bar. Silence. I threw myself into distraction. Coffee shop laptop pretending to work, smiling at baristas like I wasn't being watched by a piece of architecture. But paranoia followed me like a shadow. Every quiet moment, every lull in noise, I thought I heard humming in my head. When I returned home, the hallway was empty. The green door waited, patient. I walked by without looking. But you can feel when something is aware of you. I showered, ate, tried to watch TV. Normalcy felt thin, like wallpaper overwrought. At 12:04 a.m., the humming returned. Soft, wavering, almost nostalgic. My brain told me it was the pipe system. My skin knew better. Then, the footsteps again. But this time, not in the hall. In my apartment. I sat upright in bed so fast my vision blurred. You locked your door. You locked your door. You locked your... Floorboards creaked. Near the kitchen. My breath hitched. A slow, dragging sound followed, as if something long and heavy brushed across the hardwood. I forced myself to face the bedroom doorway. Nothing there. Still, a shadow stretched across the floor, moving, shifting. Not human-shaped. Too thin. A whisper floated from the kitchen. Faint, cracked like a vinyl record. Don't hide. My blood ran cold. I squeezed my eyes shut and whispered, voice shaking. You're not real. The humming stopped. Silence deepened, knife edge sharp. Then a voice, right beside my ear. You made me real. I choked on a scream and punched the lamp on, chest heaving. The room was empty, but the air was wrong. Heavy, electric, like static before a storm. And on my bedroom floor, smeared faintly in dust. Finger trails, dozens of them, leading out the door, heading toward the hallway, toward the green door. The next morning, something changed. I woke up not terrified, but angry. Fear makes you weak, but anger feels like control. I stormed to the green door and stood directly in front of it, breath shaking, hands clenched. Stop coming into my apartment. Silence. I don't belong to this building. You don't get to choose me. The air chilled, sudden, biting. A soft knock tapped back from the inside. Once. Then the whisper. Clearer now. Closer. No longer shy. You do. I stumbled backward. The lights in the hallway flickered. Once, twice. And a pulse of dread washed through me like the building itself exhaled annoyance. This wasn't a haunting. This was territorial. The building didn't want visitors. It wanted residents. Permanent ones. Desperate, I turned to research. Libraries, archives, old property records. The building dated back to 1912, converted boarding house for women of refined character, which was old-time code for. Women society didn't want to deal with. Widows, spinsters, unmarried mothers, women sent away to be quiet. My stomach twisted. There was one archived note in a faded ledger. Room 2W, sealed by order. Do not rent. Do not disturb. No reason listed. No tenants afterward. It was like the room had been erased from life without being dismantled. A forgotten cell in a living organism. In the reading room, I found an old photograph of the building's original residents. Dozens of women. High collars. Blank expressions. But one stood out. Far left, half-shadowed, looking away from the camera. Young. Hair pinned sharply. Dress dark green. Her expression wasn't blank. It was furious. And she was standing in front of the door. My door. No, the door. The green one. Her eyes seemed to track me even through the century-old paper. Not pleading. Condemning. My fingers trembled as I traced the image. Someone had written a name under her, faint in pencil. Eliza W. But someone else had scratched violently over it, gouging the paper until only a single letter remained. E. As though erasing her wasn't enough, she had to be reduced. Forgotten, except she wasn't. She was here. Still here. And I was in her house. I didn't sleep. Didn't lie down. I sat in my living room, lights on, gripping a kitchen knife like it could protect me from history. Around 1 a.m., every light flickered, then steadied. A slow knock sounded. Not at my door. At the green door. Once. Pause. Twice. A low hum swelled, vibrating through the walls, through my bones. Something shifted outside, the faint brush of silk against wood. My doorknob twitched. Just a millimeter, but enough to turn my body to ice. Then a voice. Clear, close, impatient. Open. I didn't move. Leave me alone, I whispered. A terrible silence followed, colder than any sound. And then, soft laughter. Not mocking. Not cruel. Satisfied. Soon, the building settled. The hum faded. The lights steadied. And I understood something horrifying. It wasn't trying to get in. It was waiting for me to come out. The next morning, a paper lay at my door. No envelope. Just thick cream paper with embossed corners, old-fashioned. In elegant cursive. You are not trapped. You are chosen. And beneath it, E. My hand shook so violently I dropped it. This wasn't random haunting. Not residual energy. It was focused. Personal. Intentional. And the worst part? Some quiet part of me felt seen by it. Like loneliness recognizes loneliness across centuries. I packed a bag. I told myself leaving was simple. Call a cab. Walk out. Go anywhere else. But when I touched the doorknob, the metal burned my palm. Ice cold. Not physically hot or cold. More like the building telling me it could close its hand around mine anytime it wanted. I froze, pulse racing, breathing ragged, and I realized leaving wouldn't save me. Something had already crossed the threshold between worlds, and it knew my name now. There are buildings you live in. There are buildings that simply contain you. This one wanted something else. Ownership. That night, the humming didn't wait for midnight. It began at sunset, low, resonant, vibrating under my skin, like the building was tuning itself. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, not one set. Several. Soft. Patient. Gathering. The green door groaned, as though pressure pushed from the inside. Whispers bled through the walls like water through cracks. Come see. She chooses. Don't make her wait. The entire building felt awake, aware, expectant. And in the hum, beneath the layers of voices, one tone rose clearer than all. Eliza. Calling. Claiming. I didn't feel afraid the way normal people get afraid anymore. This wasn't adrenaline or panic. This was surrender with teeth. A quiet terror that burrowed into my bones like the building had made space for itself inside me. That night, I sat on the floor with my back against my bedroom wall, staring at the door to the hallway like it might inhale and exhale. I kept thinking, if I don't acknowledge it, maybe it loses power. Like childhood rules. Like monsters that only move when you look away. But this presence didn't need imagination. It needed attention. And the less I gave it, the more it took. Around 2 a.m., whispering started inside the walls. Not outside, inside. Like the plaster had become a throat. Muffled, layered voices, dozens, maybe more, all speaking at once, overlapping like a warped chorus. Some pleaded. Some sobbed. Some just repeated the same phrase. She picks. She keeps. She remembers. The words vibrated through the floorboards into my ribs. I pressed my palms against my ears. Pointless. It wasn't sound. It was presence leaking into me. Then one voice lifted above the rest. Older, calm, the tone of someone who had long since accepted something monstrous. A woman. There is no leaving. There is only belonging. Another voice followed. Strained, panicked, raw. Don't let her see you want to leave. My skin crawled. I didn't know which voice terrified me more. The resigned one or the warning. And then the humming started again. That same old-fashioned lullaby. Soft. Sweet. Hungry. Like someone remembered singing it to a child who never lived long enough to grow up. Around dawn, exhausted but terrified to sleep, I went to splash water on my face. I didn't recognize myself in the bathroom mirror at first. My eyes looked darker, like they'd sunk deeper in my skull. But it wasn't just exhaustion. Behind me, barely visible in the reflection, the hallway seemed darker than it should have been. And at the far end, near the green door, a silhouette. Not detailed. More like a smear in the shape of a woman. Perfectly still. Watching. I spun around. Nothing there. But when I faced the mirror again, the silhouette hadn't vanished. It was closer. I threw a towel over the mirror and stumbled back into the bedroom, breathing hard. Isolation plays tricks. Loneliness shapes hallucinations. But this wasn't loneliness. This was attention. From something that shouldn't have attention to give. I couldn't live like this. Couldn't breathe like this. I packed again. Clothes, laptop, toothbrush, wallet. I didn't care about deposits or leases. Fear erases pride. But when I reached my door and touched the knob, a pressure filled the hallway. Not seen, but felt like thick, invisible fingers curling around the air. And there it was again. Scratching. Light. Deliberate. From inside the green door. I froze. The scratching stopped. Silence pooled like black ink. Then, a knock. Different from before. Not impatient. Inviting. A second knock followed. A rhythm this time, familiar somehow. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, 3. My chest tightened. My pulse stuttered. It was the knock pattern my mother used when picking me up from school. I hadn't heard it in 15 years. Not since she died. The air around me grew warm. Comforting. Deceptive. And through the door, a voice whispered, gentle and aching, "Sweetheart, come here." My throat closed. It was her voice. Or something perfectly imitating it. There are horrors we can outrun. But grief? Memory? Love twisted into lure. That's where ghosts win. I stepped backward, shaking so hard I felt my teeth chatter. "You're not her." "I miss you," the voice murmured, softer now, trembling like someone crying through the wood. "You don't have to be alone anymore." Tears blurred my vision. That thing behind the door didn't just know my fears. It knew my heart. It had been watching long before I noticed it. I crawled away from the entry, shaking. The voice faded. Then, in a tone colder than night air, "Soon. I didn't leave that day. Not because I chose to stay, but because grief holds chains stronger than fear." Desperation drove me to talk to another neighbor. Door 3A? Young woman, maybe early 30s, dark hair, tired eyes, coffee mug constantly in hand. I'd passed her in the lobby before. She always looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. She opened her door a crack, chain still hooked. When she saw my face, she exhaled, not annoyed, but like she'd been expecting this moment. "What did you hear?" she whispered. "Everything." She looked past me, toward the hallway. "Don't stand there. Come in." I entered her apartment, blinds drawn, lights low, boxes stacked like she'd been preparing to leave but never did. She spoke quietly, voice shaking the way exhausted fear does when it learns to function. "People think haunted places are about the dead. But this building isn't dead. It's abandoned rage that learned to breathe." I swallowed. My mouth was dry. "Eliza?" Her eyes widened, horror flashing so raw I felt it physically. "You said her name?" She stepped back. "Never say her name out loud. Who was she?" The woman's voice dropped to a whisper so soft it barely existed. She was the first one they forgot. She glanced at her living room wall, where old wallpaper peeled in strips like something had clawed from underneath. "We don't leave because the building doesn't let go. But you." She looked at me like she envied and pitied me at once. "It hasn't kept you yet. That's why she wants you." I felt a cold ache spread through my chest. How do I leave? She shook her head slowly, not refusal, but truth. "You don't. Not once you hear her." She hesitated, then whispered like breaking a vow. "She doesn't kill you. She keeps you. Every memory you ever had, she takes. The building feeds on people the world has already forgotten." That hit harder than any ghost story, because it was believable. Loneliness is a predator too. So what do I do? Her voice broke. "Last chance? Don't look back. Don't speak. Don't answer. Run before she decides you belong here. Why not run yourself?" A hollow laugh escaped her. I tried. Twice. She lifted her sleeve, faint scars in neat rows. Not suicidal. Desperate. When you belong to something, leaving feels like ripping bone from bone. She shuddered. "If you hear knocking again, don't move. Don't breathe. Don't think." She listens. I left her apartment quietly. Not hopeful, determined. I wasn't going to be collected. I wasn't rotting into this place. I packed everything again. Hands steady this time, not panicked. Fear sharpened into purpose. Leaving wasn't running. It was refusing to be claimed. At sundown, the hallway dimmed again, unnatural twilight creeping in even though light still shone outside the window. The building's heartbeat started, that low hum beneath the walls. I gripped my suitcase handle, put one hand on my doorknob, breathed once, steady, and whispered, not to challenge, but to promise myself, "I am not yours." The metal felt cold, then warm, then painfully hot, like it was branding me. I turned it anyway, and opened the door. The hallway wasn't the hallway. Not anymore. Lights flickered low, stretching shadows until they looked like living things crawling along the floor. Wallpaper peeled like wet skin. The air smelled like wilted flowers and old breath. At the far end, the green door was open a few inches. Blackness beyond, thick and pulsing like a throat. I stared at it. It breathed. Slow. Heavy. Expectant. The hum rose, vibration crawling under my skin. Whispers fluttered from the walls like moth wings. Don't go. Stay. She chose you. She waits. Don't make her come. My heart hammered. But my feet moved. One step. Then another. Toward the stairs. Toward life. Not toward her. I didn't look at the green door. I didn't breathe too loud. I just walked. Fast, steady. Focused on escape like a religion. Halfway down the hall, I heard it. A footstep behind me. Soft. Bare. Female. Then another. Then a whisper. Right behind my ear. I always get them. I didn't turn. Turning meant belonging. Turning was permission. So I walked faster, hand shaking, suitcase thumping soft against my leg. The footsteps followed. Not rushing. Confident. I reached the stairs and gripped the railing, and it pulsed under my hand like a vein. The stairs stretched, 5 steps becoming 10, 10 becoming 20. Distance warping like the building shifted to keep me inside. Walls murmured. Floorboards sighed. And the humming grew deeper. No longer a lullaby. A summons. Behind me, fabric rustled. The sound of an old dress brushing wood. Then, breath touched my neck. Colder than winter. Don't run. I didn't run. I burst forward. Feet pounding downstairs 2 at a time. Heart clawing at my chest. Voices screamed in the walls like wind through graveyard gates. She doesn't like that. No one leaves. Come back. And as I reached the bottom floor, I looked back. Just once. I shouldn't have. At the top of the staircase stood a woman in an old emerald dress, hairpinned, skin gray like faded portrait ink, eyes hollow with centuries of hunger. Eliza. Not corpse. Not ghost. Memory, given shape by neglect. Her lips curled in a terrible longing sadness. Not rage. Abandonment. She raised one hand, elegant, trembling, reaching for me like someone who had loved once and been left in darkness too long, and whispered, "Don't leave me again." I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. Not in my bed, not even in my apartment. I opened my eyes to darkness, deep, swallowing darkness, and cold stone beneath me. The air was thick with dust and something else, something sweet and rotten. For a moment, I thought I was still dreaming. Then I heard it, the whispering. Not like before, not faint, not shy. Hundreds of voices, layered, overlapping, speaking like wind tearing through dead branches. You saw. You looked. You followed. You shouldn't have. Now you stay. My pulse slammed in my ears. I forced myself to sit up. I was in a basement room. Low stone walls, iron pipes dripping in the corners, no windows, and only a single green door across the room. Paint peeling, wood swollen with age, that green door. But here, underground. I'd never been here before. I didn't even know this space existed. Then I heard footsteps, soft, dragging, slow, above me. Someone moving in the apartment above. My apartment. My chest locked. Someone was there, and I wasn't. I stood up, dizzy, and reached for my phone. Gone. I was trapped. Then, metal clicking. A bolt sliding open. The green door creaked. Just an inch. Not enough to see inside, but enough to see movement. A pale hand, slender, with long fingers, curled around the edge of the door, then slowly withdrew. I froze, lungs burning, eyes locked on the gap. A voice came through it, not whispering now. A young woman's voice, soft, sad, close. Don't run. They follow if you run. I swallowed. Who are you? Silence. Then, I was you. The whispers swelled again. Like they were angry she spoke. I backed away until I hit the wall, breath shaking. I had to get out. I had to move. I scanned the room for exits, pipes, bricks, cracked mortar. But the only opening was the green door. I didn't want to go near it. I also had no choice. I took one step. Then another. The whispering hissed like steam from hell. Join. Stay. Listen. Don't leave us alone again. I reached the door. My hand rose on its own, shaking so violently I could barely control it, and touched the wood. Cold. Not like a normal surface, like touching something dead. The door swung open, slowly, silently, Inside was a narrow hallway, lined with framed photographs. Black and white faces staring out. Men, women, children. All unsmiling. All familiar. Too familiar. My stomach dropped, because I recognized the last one. It was a picture of me, not smiling, staring forward, just like the others. Underneath my portrait, etched in tiny letters, the ones who here never leave. I stumbled back, heart trying to punch its way out of my ribs. Someone stood behind me. I felt them before I turned. Cold air, breath on my neck, a presence looming tall and wrong behind me. A voice, male, calm, old, whispered, "You opened the door. That makes it yours." I spun around and froze. Nothing there, just darkness thick enough to choke on. I did the only sane thing left. I ran. Not toward the hallway, not toward the door. I ran to the wall and smashed the old metal pipe loose, ripping it free with panic strength, and then slammed it into the concrete next to the exit door hinges. Again. Stone cracked. Metal shrieked. The whispering turned to screams. Esti opahim. Hedoes nent bilang. He will leave US. No more along. No more EMPTB. Finally, a section of the wall gave way, collapsing inward. Dust filled the room as I pushed through the gap into another corridor. Old brick, decaying, smelling of mold and stale blood. I scrambled through, tearing my clothes, skin burning, lungs screaming, and then I saw it. A sliver of daylight. Real, beautiful daylight. I crawled toward it, pulled myself through a rusted grate, and spilled out into a courtyard behind the building like a dying animal. Cold November air hit me, and I sobbed out loud. I didn't stop running until I was 5 blocks away. I never went back. I left the city the same day, changed my phone, didn't tell anyone anything. And yet, every night since, at some point before I fall asleep, I hear it. A soft knock. Somewhere. Sometimes close. Sometimes distant. Always there. Then a whisper. You open the door. Come back. I don't answer. I don't breathe. I don't sleep much anymore. But last night, my phone lit up. No caller ID. One message. We miss you. It's your door. Come home. Attached was a photo. The hallway. The portraits. Mine in the center, but newer. Updated. My eyes looked more tired. More hollow. More like them. And under it now. T1. We will. The one. We will call it. I'm writing this from a motel 2 towns away. There's only one door here. It's not green. It's boring. Beige. Normal. But as I type this, I swear I heard a soft, slow sound behind it. A paintbrush stroke. Like someone is coloring.